Hello, everyone. A warm welcome to today's Hubraum on Air digital event on startup and corporate partnerships. How can you make it work? This is our fourth event of the Hubraum on Air series. And today I am joined by our managing director, Axel Menneking, and by Philippe Souidi from SAP.io Foundry in Munich, and by CTO of Nairis, visual search engine startup. And we are joined today by Markus, Lukasson, the CTO of Nairis. Axel and I are here in Berlin in the Hubraum campus. We are sitting in the event space and are sort of the live stream location. And we are very happy to have these experienced and seasoned speakers with us today. And once again, welcoming you in the audience. Thanks for joining in, and we're going to have a good time, I think. So to give you a quick overview of how it's going to run today, we'll have a quick round of introduction by the panelists, move on to our main discussion, about 25 to 30 minutes on questions such as what makes a successful partnership between startups and big corporations, as well as what are points of friction and disruption in these partnerships, as well as some advice on how to avoid this and how a very successful partnership looks like. So a lot to look forward to, and I think we have exactly the right panelists to address these questions and also to answer any questions you might have in the end in a 15-minute Q&A session that we have planned, where we encourage you to take the voice and to speak up, ask any questions you might have. And we'll gather these questions and hopefully cover all of them. So use the chat beneath the live stream or hashtag Twitter, on Twitter, hashtag Hubraum on Air to ask these questions, and we'll get to that in the end. So enjoy the discussion, and let's start off with Axel Menneking, sitting here on my left. Axel, you are the head of Hubraum. Tell us, what does Hubraum do? What is sort of the offer Hubraum gives? And what are focus areas of Hubraum?
Yeah, so hello, Leo, and thank you for having me. Hubraum is the tech incubator of Deutsche Telekom. So it's the brand and the program vehicle for Deutsche Telekom to work with young companies, with young startups. And basically, we do four things. One is we provide startups with investment funding. So optional, we invest to strategic investments up to 300,000 euros into young teams. Secondly, we help startups via our incubation programs to innovate together with us, to co-create on our infrastructure. We have a campus in Berlin and Krakow where we can host teams and provide them with office space. And last but not least, very important, we build a bridge between our organization, our stakeholders and business people, and the startups, and help them to accelerate their business development into Deutsche Telekom.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's move on to Philippe. Philippe, sitting in Munich, you are the head of SAP.io Foundry in Munich. Tell us, Philippe, about yourself and about SAP.io.
Yeah, thank you first of all for having me here. So SAP.io is the innovation arm of SAP, specialized on startups. So inside of SAP.io, we have several streams. On one side, as so many, we have also a fund investing into startups. And then we have the foundries, but these two streams are pretty separated. So the foundries where I'm in, we have actually globally 9 foundries from Tokyo to San Francisco in the main hotspots of the world. What we're looking for is each foundry takes a topic. Like, for example, we in Munich, we have the current topic of fan experience. My colleague Miroslav in Berlin has the topic of analytics, and so on and so forth. So we take one topic and then we choose and we research for startups in these topic areas. So mostly, for example, in Munich for fan experience, we reached out to 800 startups in the area of fan and stadium experience. And then we choose up to 10 startups. In Munich, we just chose 8 startups out of this field. And what we then typically do is we take also customers with us who are experts in a specific field. So for example, for fan experience, we just took Red Bull and FC Bayern, which are also our customers and our partners, because we're building a stadium in Munich with these guys. And with them, we chose the startups. And during 3 months' time, which is our current cohort, we're building with the customers the startup and SAP proof of concepts. Here we have a specific goal because we're looking forward to our stadium. How can these startups together with us and our partners change fan experience as it was so far? Furthermore, what we're trying is taking these startups and put and implement them around our solutions and build an ecosystem. So for SAP, there is the goal that you choose SAP solutions, and with the SAP solutions, you have a huge variety and portfolio of solutions of startups and partners. So you can offer your customers the best customer experience. And what does the startup get? The startup gets access to our customers, and that's what they want at the end of the day.
Okay, that sounds very interesting. Second corporate component. So let's welcome our guest, Markus, CTO of Nairis. Give us the perspective of startups. What do you do? What's your role also within Nairis?
Thank you, Leo. Thank you as well for having me here today. And yeah, I'm Markus Lukasson. I'm the CTO and co-founder of Nairis. And at Nairis, we offer a visual search engine as a service. So what is visual search? Basically, till recently, the only reason or the only measure to retrieve information from any system was by typing some keywords. So if you want to find some product, some spare part, if you want to find some information about a person, you always have to type a keyword, and that was the only way to search. But the recent developments in neural networks and artificial intelligence makes it actually possible right now to search via image as well. So if I have a specific designer furniture item that I want to buy, but I actually don't know what it is. I don't know that it's a Barcelona chair. I can search with an image if I find it in my stream or somewhere on the internet and find this product. Or in the industrial domain, if I want to find a spare part and I actually, don't know how to describe it because it's like a complex form and I even don't know what it is, I can take an image of the spare part and search in the customers or in the industrial or in the customer catalog for this specific spare parts via an image. And this technology behind the visual search, this is what we provide to our customers. And we do have a lot of experience with corporates as well, and with partnerships. We have been in the SAP IO program and in the last cohort. We have been in some other startup programs before, and we recently announced that IKEA invested into Nairis, and this is of course also a huge corporate, and there is a lot to learn from them probably as well.
Okay, perfect. So Markus, maybe we can go in directly and touch up on one of the points you just mentioned. So you were a graduate of SAP IO's acceleration program. What sort of sources of friction and disruption were there any, and which ones did occur in sort of these looking at partnership between you and SAP IO? What was it like?
Yeah, so the SAP IO program is, there haven't been actually a lot of friction because it's extremely well managed. So kudos to SAP, and they do take care a lot of these things that can create frictions and remove them. So one of the, I think, biggest things that can create frictions that your program lives outside actually of your main business, and there is no buy-in of the main business into the program. So you take startups that you find interesting, but no one of your actual business people is involved in the decision to select someone to the startup. So there's absolutely no buy-in from them. And then you present the startup from there to them, and then they say, okay, we never know what they're doing, we don't need them. And there is actually no knowledge transfer or no technology transfer or, yeah, no cooperation. And this was actually done quite well at SAP, where before they select the startups, there is a buy-in from the team. There is a buy-in from the sales team. There is a buy-in from customers that they talk to, and they say, you know, listen, yeah, this is a technology that we like to explore deeper or learn more about it or integrate into our SAP Commerce Cloud. And we think it's very valuable. So this is, this is an important step that you have to take to make I think one of the important steps that you have to make to have a good cooperation between startups and corporates is this buy-in from actually the people at the corporates that will be using you, or that you have to work with or cooperate with. I think the second part is that you have someone within the corporate world that is your direct contact, direct person of contact that you can always talk to, and that you can, you know, always find out how to navigate this corporate world. And this is something that SAP IO also took care of. So you have mentors within SAP, you know, from sales, from pre-sales, from marketing, that are you mentors, you startup mentors. And whenever you run into some issues, you can talk to them and ask them, you know, whom do I have to talk to solve A, B, C, D? Or how do I approach customer X? Do you know to which salesperson within the whole organization I have to talk to discuss this topic with him? So you need this mentors who have this long time insider knowledge about the corporate, about SAP to guide you through this jungle of corporate, of the corporate world. I think those two are actually the major reasons probably why something works or what something fails, is that you have the buyout from the team and you have a mentor inside the corporate that can guide you through this jungle.
Mm-hmm.
If I may comment on that, because that very much shows like also the development how startup partnership programs have developed over time. I remember when I started at Hubraum a few years ago, it was very much about like, okay, show us the next, what is the next big disruption? So it was rather about scouting for inspiration. And then we found all these like super great founder teams with extraordinary new product solutions, and went into the company and said, hey, look, this is like the best invention since sliced bread. So let's go for it. That's the next unicorn. And people just turned it down and said, hey, I have no time, I have no priorities. What should I do with that? So that was stage number one. So scouting for inspiration. Then the next stage, and that is what most of us are currently still in, is like how do you manage to integrate the companies you work with and bring them as fast as possible to a proof of concept, to a MVP, or however you like it, to a trial with the customer. So to make it as fast as possible tangible. And every support, and Markus just mentioned, like one is like, of course, the customer centricity. Are we really looking for something that is needed? But also the navigation within the organization via mentors that helps it. But in the end, and that is what also Philippe mentioned in the very beginning, it's about like making business. Yeah, so building a bridge between customers who pay for something and together with startups offering something based on the startup creativity and the infrastructure or the market access of our corporate. So building this combination and bringing that to customers that in the end pay for and create revenue, that is the ultimate goal, and that's, so to say, the direction we are all going, and that also shows what kind of like friction needs to be removed to come to the ultimate goal, which is this win-win situation for all parties.
Mm-hmm. And if we stay here and now have established sort of points of friction and what we need to avoid in order to be successful, what in the first place does a startup need to bring to the table to sort of get into one of these partnerships? Tell us about, let's say, maybe the two most important metrics you as a tech incubator would look at when scouting for such a partnership? What maturity level does a startup need to bring?
Yeah, so the maturity level, of course, if you go back, like what are we looking for? Innovation transfer or creating revenues, creating a commercial win-win situation. Of course, the startup needs to have a product that can be scaled together with the corporate as a partner. Because if there's no product and that can be made, let me say, we call it carrier grade, then you have nothing to sell to and nothing to go to market. So that is, at least in our case, the lower level. And of course, companies can be more mature, but there, in our understanding or in our experience, there's a certain level. At some point, companies are so mature that they just like have a standard product and want to scale. So they go beyond like this co-creation aspect and joint exploration of markets and customers. And that is like a point where it's rather about like a pure commercial partnership rather than like an innovation-driven co-creation in a incubation or acceleration program. So that's like what we're looking for. And of course, there needs to be, we call it a strategic fit between what the startup is working on and what our businesses are looking for. So what does this mean? So each company has on its roadmap a certain, let's say, experiences or areas of focus prioritized. For Deutsche Telekom, for example, it's always connectivity, but it's also like the home, it's voice. And within these areas, we're looking, of course, for startups to complement or to accelerate our innovation activities and improve our proposition to our customers. This is also a point of high friction that, and I think Philippe has the same experience, like every day we get applications by founders who are like really bright people, but they don't spend the necessary time doing their own due diligence and finding out first, what is my potential customer, the corporate, that helps me to do business together with his customers? What business is he in? What is he looking for? What are his key issues he tries to solve? What are the jobs to be done? And based on that, those founders need to decide, can I really be of value? Am I in that sweet spot of what they're looking for or not? And I think this is in the very first place one of the frictions, or let me say the challenges I see for startups, that whilst we doing like a very diligent process finding out the right startups for our internal stakeholder demand, often we get a lot of applications where we have the feeling that the startups have not spent 5 minutes, so to say, to find out what is really what we are really looking for, and that is of course a deal breaker from the very beginning.
Okay, perfect. I think we got our first a very good piece of advice here for founders out there, that sort of a initial research phase where you look at these factors. How can I benefit from this partner, but also how can he benefit from this cooperation? That this is very much necessary. Going over to Munich, Philippe, do you have the same opinion on this, what Axel just mentioned, or how does it look for you in your opinion?
Yeah, I absolutely agree with what Axel says. So from the baseline, totally agree. Let me say that. So even us in the cohort, and in the cohorts, we are improving also constantly. So we're also changing, and as the startups, we're agile and we're adapting to the circumstances. So for example, in the cohort of Markus, we've been, it was a cohort it was present in Munich in our offices, and we needed to change it into a virtual program. So we're improving that. So from the base, yes, we are looking for startups which are a little bit more mature. So we're looking for startups which have a product which is ready and which have at least 10 customers. Why 10 customers? So we can be sure they got feedback out of the market. Once we have that as a criteria, we then look really into our line of businesses. So the guys building our solutions, and are asking them to look at the startups. Then we are asking also our customers to look into these solutions and say, is that startup solving a problem of yours? And furthermore, SAP has a huge partner ecosystem. So we're also taking partners who implement solutions of SAP at customers. We take them also into consideration looking at this solution. So all these parties are looking at the startups, and if all of them say, that's exactly what we want to have, then the biggest hurdle comes in. And then actually we sit down with the teams, right? And we look at the teams and look how they are, because don't forget, we are working with them for 3 months and then longer. So we want to build up a long-lasting relationship with these startups. So we need to be sure that the teams work. And actually the result is that if we have a team and the team has, the team is punctual, is to the point, they are really passionate about what they're doing, then we know it's a perfect team. If the basic things are missing, then the work with this team will be difficult. And that's a learning we got over the years working also with startups. So it's like hard facts and also soft facts which come together in us looking and choosing startups.
Okay, perfect. Also very valuable insight. Maybe, Markus, can we ask you in regards to this question? Was this something that you also experienced when looking for a partnership? Also in terms of you were in the cohort of SAP IO. Maybe there were all other experiences with corporations, or also in general, what's your take? What are some advices and your opinion on these metrics and maturity level that you want to bring or need to bring as a startup in order to score one of these partnerships?
Yeah, so it's important that you have at least a little bit some maturity, some product that you can showcase. Because if you start talking to the salespeople at SAP or other partners, that they need something to work with. If you're still building a product, or if you're still like trying to find your market fit, then they will get frustrated, because they are salespeople, they want to sell, and you want actually their customers. So your major goal to going with SAP or other corporates is to get the customers, and you get the customers through the salespeople, and you get to the salespeople if you give them something that they can sell and that they can present and that they can create a value for their customers. So there is some level of maturity that you probably need to starting to be in this program, or to benefit from the program and get most of it of the program. And for SAP, I mean, we definitely looked what is our product. So we have a visual search for spare parts, or we wanted to place our visual search in the spare parts and industrial assets market. And then we thought, who is actually active in this area? And if you think about industry and RP systems, there is SAP in Germany, and then there is a lot of room, and then maybe some other companies come in. So it was like a natural partner for us to work with SAP, because we knew they have a commerce suite. We knew they target B2B customers. We knew that the B2B commerce is area that is growing fast. And we knew that we have a solution that might help them also sell in the market. So that's why we chose SAP, or why we have been actually quite happy to be in the program. In terms of other corporates, or frictions with other programs, it's less with startup programs, but it's usually friction with directly if you work with corporates, or if you start to sell to corporates, to big ones as a startup, that they are usually not prepared for you in many ways. Simple way, the legal team is not prepared for you. Like, you want to make a POC, or you want to start slow, and they send you a 50 pages contract, which if you sign it, you actually can go directly and close the startup, because there are so many liabilities built in that you should never sign it. So it got better, but it's still often that you like the whole process of getting on board, getting your startup on board is so complicated that it just takes a lot of time. So every corporate that wants to work with a startup need to have some sort of streamlined process to get around this whole legal topic, you know, either using an accelerator like hubraum or SAP.io or others, or have internal some different process to onboarding startups. So working with startups also in terms of like how to spend the budget, and you know, which is different to actually onboarding a normal customer or or a normal service provider.
And are you looking to form new partnerships in the future? Is there any programs you are looking at or that you want to get involved in now in the upcoming months or years?
We're actually looking right now to make the SAP program very successful. I think one thing that you can do wrong as a startup is trying to do too many programs because it costs a lot of time. You have to invest time. You have to invest time from your sales team. You have to invest time from the founders team to make this program actually work. If you think you're going into a startup program and then you present your solution and the sales team will start selling everything and talk to all the customers that they have, this will not happen. No, you have to invest significant amount of time and effort into this partnership. And as a startup, I would say you can effectively manage maybe 1 or 2 partnerships, and that's all. Unless you build up your team or you scale up your team, you should not try to be in all the programs that are out there, but find the sweet spot that is for you. And this is, I think, SAP for us right now, and really make this partnership work.
I think that's a very good point. And if I had to put it into an equation, I would say likelihood of success is, I call it attitude, multiplied by product and, let me say, skills of the team. So you can have the best technical skills, like you have lots of geniuses in your team, and you have can have the best product in the world. But if the attitude, as Markus and also before Philippe has mentioned, if the attitude is not there to be really full on, and if I'm talking about the mutual attitude, so then this equation will always be on a low end, because if that is a low factor, then the whole result is low. And that's also something we very much look at constantly in our cohorts. Is there a balance of energy? So how much energy do our own business people or salespeople put into this, mentoring and working with the team to bring it to the next level, to make it market ready or sellable to our customers? But on the other hand, also, how much energy is the startup putting into this? As Markus said, it takes a lot of energy to create success. And if there is no balance in energy, and that is also from my end also an advice to both parties. If I, as a corporate, realize, hey, I'm calling the startup and they're not answering, I'm calling again, I'm making offers, but they're not reacting, then something is wrong. And the same thing is also how often do we get on a weekly or even on a bi-daily basis emails from founders, hey, sorry, I don't want to disturb you, but have you read my last emails, da-di-da-di-da, So if you as a startup realize there is not a balance of energy, then this is always a sign something is wrong. Here is friction. Think again. Most likely you're on the wrong path.
Yeah, very valuable. I think we've taken some time now to have a very valuable discussion, and we're receiving already some questions from the audience, and I would like to of course, take enough time to answer all of them. And maybe while we're already talking right now, Axel, one of the questions we received by one of the viewers is for you to tell us of one of the most inspiring examples of a successful corporate partnership. So tell us about a success story that you found to be very inspiring at hubraum.
Well, first of all, I'm always inspired by all the teams because the energy and the vision that founders bring to the table is like always like amazing. So it's like the let me say what keeps me going day to day. But I think I don't want to let me say names, but I think two things that really like really amaze me. One is like the persistence in vision, yeah. And we all know that startups have these near-death up and downs, and then recover and become big stars. And believing in that vision and staying with the strategy and ultimately become successful. So not changing and just pivoting because like a corporate is telling to do so, but staying with that vision on a long term. I think that is one thing that to me is super amazing. And we had several startups as well in our investment portfolio, as well in our startup incubation or acceleration cohorts that have done exactly that way. And even if it not happened right away at the first touch, when we had them in the program itself, sometimes after 12, 18, maybe 24 months, since they are part of the family, the door opened, the opportunity arose again, and then they were really ready and going for it. So that is something that amazes me most, and there are many examples for that, and it's also a quality for the founders and for the team.
Yeah. And Philippe, what's your experience with this? Do you have a very inspiring example for us from one of your cohorts?
Yeah, I think there's several ones. What I tell the startups always is, SAP has over 80,000 employees. I tell them always it's a people business. Our startups have around 80 to 90 coaches and mentors. And at the end of the day, it depends on the startup how they play them. And there are some which are playing that better and some not so good, right? So, and one great example, of course, for example, is also Parcel App. They are playing perfectly. So if they go into if we have a joint customer, then they're getting always the salesperson out of SAP, going out, reaching out to the customer, and that's what they want to do. As Axel said, they want to do business, and the business is supported by SAP.
So what I really like about like the model of SAP is that they have even gone a step further in integrating their customers, so to say, as their developer group or parts of their developer ecosystem, working with their platforms into the program, which I would say is really like something everyone who thinks about going into this area really let me say, one of the highest levels you can get. Not only working on demand of your internal business people, but even like pulling in your external customers and having them on board. So being like really true customer driven, true customer market driven. That is like a super great example. And I'm really like a bit like, so I would love to have it in the same way as they have. And I would be interested, Philippe, because also Markus mentioned it, like the processes. Any experiences at your end, how you deal with purchasing and contracting and legal warranties and data protection and you name it, compliance. How do you deal with that? Have you established something special for your startups and your cohorts?
Yes, definitely. So as we said before, we need to adapt the methodology and the processes. But luckily, we have inside of SAP, we have since years the process of partnerships. So what we really do is we have three-step program. So number one, we get the startups to become partners of SAP. Then we build mostly integration into our solutions. And then we have a platform called App Center, which is an app store if you want to. And we position the startups there. So from the App Center, our salespeople can also bring the startups easily to our customers. And with that, all the legal environment, all the legal topics go forward. The negative side, of course, is as we need to solve all the legal points before, it takes a while until a startup comes on the App Center at the end of the day. But the process is there.
Yeah, so we don't have an app center at Deutsche Telekom. Maybe sometime, maybe soon, but I think what our colleagues in purchasing and legal have done is like really amazing. There is now like a fast track, especially also like for startups coming either from TT Capital Partners, but also like hubraum or partnering itself. They kind of like have like a fast track for contracting and also to get listed, and even to get like very easy, even if they're not listed yet, financial support to do trials and POCs. And I think that's like super important for corporates to acknowledge that they need to have like this acceleration of the process, how to bring startups into the company and create something tangible, because in the end that's like the ultimate proof of value and the platform to like really then scale what you have achieved together in this let me say POC or trial stage. And if you don't manage that, then it comes back to the energy, the likelihood that you lose energy on one of the sides, either the startup is like giving up because it takes too long, or people inside the corporation lose their interest, then this likelihood is very high. So super important and great that you mentioned that, Markus, that you also need to work on this legal and purchasing process side. Otherwise, you can choose the best teams with the best fit in the best program with the best mentors, but you haven't done your homework to do the home run itself.
So now you're referring, or you're talking about basically the ideal matchmaking process, you know, with the fast track, and also the cooperation being on the fast track, giving access quickly and moving quickly. What would be, if you were to advise startups now, what would be a starting point? What would be your entryway to one of these partnerships with hubraum, for example? Where should I start?
So as said, we have different angles. We have like the pure investment angle here. Of course, it's optimal if you get access via a referrer out of our network. Could be either an alumni or an existing invested company, or someone out of our trusted network of investors, multipliers, other startup programs. So that is super helpful here. For the program itself, interestingly, for the incubation or acceleration programs, we have a dual approach. On one hand, we have, of course, call for applications and people can apply. Here, I think it's super important, as said, do your due diligence, understand what we are all about, what we value, what we're looking for, and make sure that your application is really meaningful and has a fit, because we are really looking like laser sharp on the basis of the demands that we get from our organization. That's number one. But on the other hand, we also reach out proactively, because beyond like the applications we get, we also do our homework and look, as Markus said, as he's looking for the best partners for his business, we also look for our problems to be solved for the best potential partners out there. So that's the second way how startups can get in, and then it requires, of course, openness by the startups to listen to us, how we do our pitch, so reverse pitching, so to say, and openness to invest time in the huge opportunities to work with us. So these are the two or the different ways how we get into startups. What is less ideal, it's like the short introduction. Hello on LinkedIn. Great that we are connected. By the way, I have this great startup, or these like spontaneous applications via a contact at hubraum.com. There can be a hit, but the likelihood is very low. So it's rather either coming out. It's much better coming out of the network we have, or really dedicated and focused whenever we have a call for application around priority areas we're really looking for.
Mm-hmm. And Axel was earlier speaking about the win-win situation where basically the startup demand and the corporate demand come together, where even commercialized products can be launched together. Yeah, we have one question from the audience. I'm going to read it out before I ask something wrong here. So it's basically asking if there's situations where a startup corporate partnership is not a fit, where a win-win can't be achieved. Like, is there a situation where you shouldn't apply? Maybe you're at the wrong stage, or you're looking for something else. Exactly. So when is a situation where you do not want to get involved with a corporate? Maybe also to the round. Anyone? Axel, Philippe, Markus, from your experience.
So,
what do you think?
So maybe from our experience, so the application process is a similar one as Axel described. So as you guys know, we have 9 foundries globally. We run 2 cohorts per year. So we have 18 topics per year, around 18 topics a year, where startups can apply. So topic-wise, normally there could be a fit, but don't forget, SAP is looking for enterprise business, B2B startups. So, and then we have a funnel. So each startup who applies, we look at them. We look at them on our own, plus our line of business, our solution guys, as well as our customers. And there we find out very fast which startup fits to us. But I'm sure from the startup side, there's also not a fit. As we see, even if the product is great, they have 10 customers, everything is great. But as Markus already said before, is if they don't have time, to really be dedicated to a program, then they shouldn't go into it, right? And startups need to check that definitely before they go for such a program.
Yeah.
And it's also like such a partnership is like having sex with an elephant, yeah, for a startup, yeah. So you really need to be sure that this elephant is not killing you, yeah. So if it's too big
heavy
of a task, yeah, so to say, like so that's also something startups need to be aware of. Besides like investing the time, also could it be also too much embracing you, yeah, too much distracting you, so that you're losing speed in scaling your own business and pursuing your own way. That is something. Then chemistry, yeah. It can be the perfect product. It can be the perfect team, but if there's like as said in the beginning, this missing joint chemistry on a personal level, and business in the end is between people. Yeah, if there's like, if you can find a basis of trust, if you have this like gut feeling, something is wrong. Actually, it's a perfect match, but something is wrong. I don't feel like this. Yeah, these are the situations where things even do not come together. Even though like from a paper point of view, it seems to be a perfect marriage. But Markus, what is your experience? You are in sales mode with your company all the time, so I guess you may have one example or two where you said, "Hey, this is a perfect match from your due diligence," but then found out, oh, it's not working. Yeah.
I mean, there is always things where you start wondering when it's not working, or when you work with corporates and when your product is all about data, like search is all about data, and when you quickly realize that data is an issue for the corporates to get the data, to access the data, to actually start working with it, then it can like drown a lot of energy from you and from your team actually to start working with those corporates or with those teams. And I don't know, right now all this artificial intelligence topic is data is the major point of any corporation or of any corporation that you do. As a startup, you want to access to data, or you want to access to customers, and you want to access to data, and the data is either owned by the corporation or maybe by the customer of the corporation. So how do you get it? And when there is no way to get it, and you are a data-driven startup, it will not work. It's probably not the right partnership for you. And for the other question is, what Philippe said also, it's a people business. So you have to know that the corporate that you're working is kind of similar, energy that you have, or similar workings. I mean, they have very different working style, but at least some similarities in thinking about business and doing business that you can be comfortable with. If I don't know, there is a huge difference between probably working with a German startup or like SAP or Telecom, and working with some hyper-scaling US startup or a corporate, which have probably a very, very different approach to this. So you have to find out that you feel comfortable investing your time into this, and you have to find out that this corporation that you are working with, that they really have the customers that you want to have, or they really have the data that you want to have. Because if it's not, if you, I don't know, a fashion startup and you want to go into the telecom partnership or SAP or IKEA, probably not always the right fit. Maybe you should work with someone from fashion then.
And speaking about the right fit and chemistry, another question that the audience is asking or seeking an answer for is, what kind of teams are you looking for? So is there a specific diversity you're looking for? Is there a specific mindset you're looking for? What is it? What makes a good entrepreneurial team for you? Maybe Philippe, you can have the first go at the question. Philippe, you are muted. We cannot hear you.
Sorry.
Yeah, you're back now.
Yeah, here I am. Yeah, so for us, it's a little bit easier because we are looking for a little bit mature startups. So there's a track record, right, into which we can look on the business side. But what we definitely look is into diverse startups, right? So our overall goal is already also in the Foundries to have at least 40% of diverse startups. That's very important from a cultural point of view for us. And then it's really the hunger to go for customers, right? That's what you feel immediately if you talk with these guys, with the teams. Are they there? Do they have the passion to go for that? And that's something you feel immediately. As Axel said, the energy.
I think it's at our end. It's also like competence. Yeah, do they really understand what they are doing? Yeah, can they execute? Are they willing to adapt? Are they willing to handle the challenges? Also working with a larger corporate with different expectations in terms of like implementation and collaboration in terms of processes, technology, security, and the likes. So these are things like in a personal interview, that you check we call them like deep dives with the business partners or mentors and the teams, and you try to find out, is this going to work? And is it not just like a one-sided vision that we are trying to follow because one side likes to, but the other is not sure about it?
And another question that we got from the audience, which basically comes to the point which we touched on earlier, is again the level of or the stage of the company, of the startup itself. So would a POC, proof of concept, or an MVP already be enough of a starting point for startups to get into a relationship, partnership with Hubraum or SAP?
So I said there should be a product in place, yeah, as a basic rule. And what we do together is an MVP in terms of Deutsche Telekom. So meaning we build something that would be ready to launch, or that we would be able to launch as soon there is the right window of opportunity in the market, potentially technology roadmap, marketing roadmap, and the likes. Yeah. But if a startup comes with a own MVP, so meaning they only have like the basic functionality to show like the end-to-end basic use case, this would be too less, at least when it comes to the ultimate goal to create jointly revenue, because then the product is not as ready as we need it to go to customers.
Okay. And how does this look like at SAP.io, Philippe?
Yeah, so it's quite simple. What can we really, where can we support and where can we help? We can help to scale. SAP is a global company. We are on every continent of this world. We have everywhere salespeople, and that's where the startups can tap into. So if they're not ready to go, the next step, it just doesn't make sense to work together with us. So the next step can be, to scale inside of Germany, scale into DACH, scale into Europe, or scale into the world. But you should be ready to scale. So you need a base, you need the product, and you need to have already, sold to customers so you can multiply that process. Of course, we will help you during 3 months to adapt. So, you get courses on enterprise sales. Our best salespeople will talk to you, will coach you, that you know how to go to this big corporates to sell them and so on and so forth. But you need to be very ready to go for the next step. And what we're looking for, pretty straightforward, is startups around Series A. That's until now was the best fit for our foundries.
Okay. Another thing that came up for the audience, I think, was probably after Markus has mentioned that there is a lot of time and a lot of dedication going into these partnerships, so you need to be ready for this, as well as many agreements when it comes to data, when it comes to other legal concerns. So a question is from the audience is, what do I need to be prepared to agree to, and with what kind of positioning can I go into negotiation of these partnerships?
I think this goes to Markus, right?
Yeah, I mean, you have to be prepared to read and sign a lot of documents. Definitely, sometimes you maybe even need some advice from a lawyer to really understand what it is. Usually, so in our experience, there was only one corporate actually where we didn't sign the documents. So where we said, one name a name here, but it was a one-sided technological transfer, basically. So the document stated that everything that they learned during the partnership is their IP, or they own it. And you have to be aware of things like that to say, no way. I mean, you're not selling your startup to this company. You want a cooperation and not like a sellout. So you have to read those documents. As I said, like, I don't think Hubraum, and definitely I know that SAP, there was nothing like this inside the documents, but be aware that some of the corporates may have some clauses like this, so read it carefully.
That's a good point. So at our end, the IP stays with the company we collaborate with, so with the startup. And the other point, in the beginning, we still had like the corporate style guarantees and penalties in our contracts. And of course, a managing director of a startup cannot sign a contract where the corporate is asking for several €100,000 of guarantees if something goes wrong, or penalties if something goes wrong, because in the end he's risking his company. So that is another aspect. I would say a simple learning, but still from a pure corporate perspective and pure corporate lawyer perspective, often something that still happens even today.
Yeah.
I mean, we still receive NDAs where there is like 50,000 or 100,000 euro fine that they can charge us without having any court law. You know, like you sign something that they can decide that you have to pay before there is any lawyer coming in, and you cannot sign those. Like it's impossible for you to start up to sign such an NDA. So we usually, if there is any, so usually you can talk the corporates out of it. So if you tell them, listen, there is no way I sign this NDA if there is 100,000 fine included, and they start talking to them and then they remove it. But usually in the first version that they sent you, it's always there.
Yeah. I think we are actually heading towards our last question, as we are closing the round shortly with just 5 minutes remaining. So one last question before final thoughts, final comments would be that Hubraum, as sort of the innovation arm of Deutsche Telekom, if you were to say so, and SAP.io as the same for SAP as the bigger corporation behind. These are the innovation areas. Interesting would be how receptive and cooperative are also other departments within the bigger corporation towards this innovation. How does the innovation stop there at Hubraum, or how much does it go into Deutsche Telekom? And yeah.
So to me, innovation and doing startup corporate partnerships is a true team sport. And I have to say that luckily, Hubraum is part of a group partnering in devices at Deutsche Telekom, so a department that covers the whole value chain from scouting to incubation, as Hubraum does, to partnering even with more mature partners, up to, let me say, the Netflix and the Disneys, up to the huge strategic partners, so the hyperscalers, Google, and SAP would be also one of these strategic partners, and then also the device business. And that all together makes it special, and that all together helps also to accompany startups when we start to partner with them along the whole, let me say, journey. So they grow up and we grow with them. So in the beginning, potentially, we found them via scouting. Then they're ready to enter into an incubation program and build together an MVP. That MVP turns into a commercial contract that is then executed by our partnering colleagues. Then they grow further and become maybe like an important supplier for Deutsche Telekom itself, and end up maybe on devices that Deutsche Telekom is selling. So that is like a constant stream, and I think that's also like super important, besides, of course, all the cross-functional supporter functions like I mentioned before, purchasing, legal, and da-di-da. But I think that is very well done at Deutsche Telekom, that we have like this team sport from the very beginning to growing up with the team, and from the investment side, starting with seed investments at Hubraum to midterm investments at Telekom Tip Pool, and then at the very upper end, almost private equity-like, DT Capital Partners can also support with funding for really grown-up companies.
Yeah, so I think Axel just gave us a good example, or of a successful partnership, startup corporate partnerships, and how this looks like, and that innovation shouldn't stop at the innovation center, but it goes within the big corporation. So this is the optimal outcome, and I think this is a good takeaway, and maybe we can go into a round of closing thoughts. So I would encourage you, Philippe, Markus, and I think Axel gave us one, but also of course can add in the last 1 or 2 minutes to give your last comments. Maybe one more single best piece of advice to entrepreneurs and founders out there that want to get engaged and get involved into one of those startup corporate partnerships. So the stage is yours. Philippe, what's your closing thought?
Yeah, so for me, I see, business is changing dramatically. Before I was head of the SAP Foundry Munich, I was running the innovation programs inside of SAP Customer Experience. And there we saw there was one idea, how can we innovate faster? And innovation is happening today also as an ecosystem. And startups are a major part of this ecosystem. And corporates like SAP want to work with them. So we want to innovate together. And therefore, as we said, we want to have startups as a partner and also partner on the same eye level. So therefore, we are running these accelerators. As an ecosystem, offer our joint customers the best services and solutions.
Okay, thank you for your closing statement. And then last but not least, to close the round, Markus, please, any final words that you want to add here?
Yeah, maybe the summary or advice, really choose wisely the corporate that you want to work with. Make sure that they have the customers your solution is built for or you want to access, that they can really help you scale or they can really help you get your solution to your customer segment or to your customer group. And once you found a partner or once you found a corporate, make sure you really invest time, because then you get the most out of it. Make sure that you really connect on a personal level, that you go after the salespeople, that you try to make this work. And this requires a lot of time. So focus on one corporate and don't try to please everybody and focus on too many partnerships, because you don't have the time and you don't have the resources as a startup to make it work. And there is also, maybe last word, there is actually a quite nice document from the VDMI. Unfortunately, it's only in German, but it's about the cooperation between startups and machinery manufacturers in Germany and how this works. And most of the corporates and startups are actually quite happy about the cooperation. So everybody should go and start it. And if you want to deep dive a little bit into it, as I said, there is this document for VDMI. It's actually a quite summary of what works and what doesn't work.
Thank you, Markus. So as he just said, everyone should get started with a corporate partnership. In that sense, also make sure to have a look at hubraum.com/programs and or /investments, where you can find out on what is necessary to be regarded as a potential investment, or which sort of incubation programs are Hubraum is hosting right now. Definitely check that out. Also check out sap.io with the individual foundries and the respective programs. And for sure also have a look at nairis.io, the website and the product that Markus stands for and is the CTO of, to see what they are building. So, and then I guess a big thank you to the panelists. Thanks for joining. It was I had a good time. It was, I think, a very valuable discussion. And of course, also a big thank you to the audience for sitting with us, listening patiently. And I hope you had a good time. I hope your questions were answered. And last call for action. Keep posted on Hubraum on air digital events. We have one regularly every month. So on December 10th, we will be speaking about campus networks and factories of the future. So if you're interested, make sure to join. Have a good evening or morning wherever you are located, and until next time, thank you.
Thank you.